All right, so we finished up the unboxing, and yesterday we had the opportunity to put the board through its paces. My son rode it, Hayes rode it, and I rode it as well. And I must say, when Tynee reached out to me, they said, this thing is one of the fastest mini boards on the market, and they were not lying. But let's just go over some of the main specs, and then we'll get into the ride feel. So this board is a 13S system. But this is the crazy part. They're using moly cell batteries, P42As, and this thing has a 393 watt hour battery. That's almost 400 watt hours in such a small form factor. This is what a lot of regular longboards have, and it has all of that and then some in such a really small portable package here. One of the other things they gave us, 2,775 watt hours motors, which is crazy when you talk about a board with this form factor. And that's one of the reasons that it had really high acceleration and torque, which is really amazing. They also talk about a waterproof battery system. That's cool and all, but I'm not riding in the rain. There's just too many consumables on the board that can go bad when you talk about riding in rain and things like that. But it is good to know that it's supposed to have good sealing, so that's great for maybe dust and things like that as well. Also, the built-in brake light. I actually forgot about this until I think Hayes was riding, and I was like, what the heck is that red thing on the bottom of the board? Then I remembered it has a built-in brake light, which is pretty cool as well. This particular setup came with these cloud wheels, I think they call them all-weather type cloud wheels, which is really good to help eat up cracks and vibrations. So let's get into the ride experience on this board. When you look at it, I thought it was going to be incredibly unstable. It's not that unstable at all when riding this board. And I talked about this in the unboxing. When you look at the bottom of it, the wedge system that they've integrated into the shock pads here at the bottom, they have an angle. And the way that that's structured, it allows for greater stability when you have these shorter boards. I first saw this on another board that I reviewed about 3 years ago. And I happened to just see it and I hit them up, and then they broke it down, all the science and all of that and the theories behind how this keeps the board more stable. And it does keep the board much more stable, especially when you just look at this form factor here. Now, we also talked about the integrated bash guards and then the tail protector here, which I really like. I just don't see why you would make an expensive mini board and not put something here that can protect it when you're actually using the kicktail, which is really cool. Now these wheels, I tried these cloud wheels out before on another board and I'm pretty impressed with them. Really good looking wheels. Not only do they look good, but they're practical because they help to eat up cracks and vibrations and stuff like that. And that's definitely something needed when you talk about a stiff deck like this, because it can really have a lot of foot fatigue. We did not touch these trucks at all, and I felt okay on it. Now, would I ride this in the middle of the streets with cars, commuting? Probably not. But if I'm on a trail, if I'm on a college campus, if this is my last mile commute when I get off the MARTR and I'm riding to my house, these are the perfect situations for a board like this. To be honest about it, this board is probably going to be ridden a lot by me and then my son, because this board can actually fit in his locker at school. When he goes to middle school, he can ride up the hill, put this in his locker, and go to his school day, get out of school, and bring it on out. So I can see it being a great board for situations like that. Now, when you look underneath it as well, and the motors and the setup and the wire management, I think it looks pretty good. And I think Tynee is doing a pretty good job with that. One other thing I just want to quickly point out, the screws on the bottom of the board here, they gave us a lot of real estate so that I can actually put my shred lights on there. A lot of my boards, I can't even put the shred lights on there because they don't give you enough room to put the mounting plate. And I can't stand that, because then that means I gotta go to the hardware store and get longer screws and stuff like that. So I like that they did that. Now, I've talked about all the positive things about this board. The hill climbing is off the chain. The torque and acceleration is really good. I think we lost 1 bar from riding yesterday. This thing just climbs hills as it should. 2 things that have me somewhat wondering, that people may want to consider when you look at a board like this. The price point is an interesting one. I think it's about $850, $890 for a board at this price point. Hayes and I was talking about it and we said, hey, is that too expensive of a board for this form factor? But then Hayes is like, think of it like this, Pat. He said, look at the battery setup that they gave us. You could probably ride this board all day. And he's telling the truth to them. We didn't get, a really whack battery pack, and we all know batteries are expensive. So that may be where some of the costs went into this. And then also they gave us these nice bash guards and things like that under here. Good quality wheels. So it's kind of a catch-22. People have to decide if that's a price point that they're willing to pay for a board like this. The other thing that I was just kind of wondering, and this, I don't even know if it's necessarily about this particular board, but really it's about all of the style of wheels like this on boards, is what happens when this rubber starts to wear out. How long will this rubber on the wheels actually last when riding the board? But other than that, I really have nothing negative to say about this board. I'm thoroughly impressed with it. My son was on it and he was riding really fast to the point where I told him to slow down a couple times because he was scaring me. I was on it riding it, and I'm not a light guy, and the board has a lot of kick. Hayes said at times the board is scary too fast almost, right? But we enjoy the board. The great torque and acceleration is very helpful going up hills if you're commuting and stuff like that. I think if you're in the market for a real mini board that has some good features, this actually has a usable kicktail, great acceleration and torque, and small enough to fit in a locker, throw under your desk at work, I think that this tiny board could offer a lot of value for you. If you want to learn more about this board, check out the links in the description. As always, I will see you at the top because the bottom is too crowded. What's going on, gang? Got a brand new board by Tynee Board. Excited about this board for a couple of different reasons. This is my first time partnering with this company, but then secondly, they're making a mini board that has the features that I think should be standard on all mini boards. So let's just do a quick unboxing because the most important thing is the ride. So let's do that. So it came nicely packaged. It took us about an hour, Hayes, to get the tape off. Comes with the foam that we're accustomed to seeing, which is really good. Hey, Jen, come stand over here so that when I take it out, I can get a board to you. So it comes very nicely packaged, as most of these boards do now, which is very nice. Comes in the foam. Come here for a second, Jam. And I like this. Looks really good. So just go and sit that on the floor right there. And we'll talk about the board more in just a second. But right now, just want to focus on what we get inside, and then we'll dig deep. So wow, look at that. These companies have started creating like nice little stuff. So it's Tynee Board, nice little emblem, nice little invitation. Almost looks like a wedding invitation. You getting married, Hayes? He said, wow, let's see what this is. So it's a little letter of thanks. What is this about? Wow, it's a nice little letter where they're basically thanking you for receiving this board from the company. That's a nice little touch. That's very nice. And let's just quickly go through what we have in the box so that we can move on to the more important things. So they gave us a remote. This is a different looking remote. Doesn't look like all the other remotes, but it has a screen indicator on there, which is very nice. Let me just sit that there. Gave us all of our tools that we're accustomed to seeing, skate tool, all of that kind of stuff. Gave us a charger, a 2.0 amp charger, which is not bad. They gave us some additional belts because this is a belt drive board. And that's about it because of the packaging and stuff. So I'm gonna sit this down and let's talk about why we're here. Bring the board over, Jam. Thank you, bub. And wow, doesn't that look good? Let's just talk about some of the things that we see. Let's get all this over here out of our way. Padded grip tape. Initially see that. Wow, look at that. It's got a bumper guard in the front. I haven't seen a mini board with a bumper guard. That is incredibly thoughtful. And look at that. They gave us a tail guard, which I think should be standard on all boards because you tear up the kicktail when you're actually using it. That is some thoughtful stuff there. I love it. Now let's just look at the bottom. The enclosure, very sleek looking. Very sleek looking. I like this. And then when you look at these motors look relatively large when you talk about a comparison to the size of this board. I'm liking that a lot. This is something simple, and y'all might laugh at me when I point this out. Well, actually, dang, look at this here. All right, I'm gonna get some close-ups. The wedge that's going under the truck, it is tapered, so it's thinner right up under it, and then it gets fatter. It's my understanding that this helps with stability. I'm gonna get a close-up. So it helps the board be more stable than the entire, what is that thing called that goes under the truck? Base plate. The base plate, if it's just flat all the way across or just the same width, but this one is wedged, and it supposedly helps it with stability, which is great for if a board is a mini board. Oh, and they came standard with those new cloud wheels. So these are soft. I have some of these at the house on my other board, so this should eat up cracks and vibrations. Let's just turn it on real quick. Let's see how much charge it's got. Turn it on, press the button. It's actually fully charged. I like it, man. Let's just do a quick sound test. Let's see how to go to a different speed mode. That's mode 3. I like it. Oh, turbo. Oh, crazy. So that's the quick unboxing. We're going to, of course, ride the board, which is the most important thing. So let's get to it.